Okay. We would be readier than a ready
All
this
right.
thing.
Start that. And record. Hey everyone, welcome to the Strength Inc. podcast. We have a very exciting episode for all you single people out there. We are going to promote our swag, apparently.
Yes.
That's what Nathan is trying to get me off camera to see. If you're not watching on YouTube, he's like, swag, swag, swag. I'm like, yes, that's what single people need.
Yes, they do.
Forget a partner.
Well, only one person can wear a shirt at a time.
That's true. You could put a shirt on your pillow.
At least our shirts.
Next to your body pillow and be like, look, it's like Aaron or Nathan is... Never mind, that's too weird.
Or a cup, or a mug, a wine glass.
A hat, yes. We got lots of swag on shrinkthink.com/swag, maybe, something like that.
Yes.
We're going to be talking about dating today. This is a hot topic. There's lots of people out there that come in to counseling and talk about their dating lives, their experiences, their woes, their patterns, and it's interesting. There are a lot of people who don't really know what they're doing. They don't know how to do this well, and I get it. I mean, it makes a lot of sense. It's like in some senses, it feels like people are looking for a needle in the haystack, but they've never seen a needle. They've heard about the needle. It's like, I've seen a picture, and it's kind of more like one of those like FBI drawings of like, okay, describe the suspect, It's like,
Yeah.
I'm like, okay.
I'm looking for this needle, and they've drawn a ballpoint pen.
Yeah, right.
Or they've drawn a picture of a red flag.
Right.
You
Like,
found a lot of those.
What is this? So we're going to kind of just walk through a little bit like, okay, if you are dating, these are some of the things that people have come into our office and said that they do. And we're like, yeah, don't do that, right? So these are some don'ts, but also like, okay, so what are some maybe good guidelines for if you're going to date? What should you be looking for? How do you how do you know if the person is a good fit for you, or if you should go on another date, if you even should swipe right on that person, if this is somebody you should even continue talking to, all of that stuff.
Yeah, I was just thinking like what I'll tell people, first of all, this like probably the startup of whatever, wherever this goes, this is going to meander, I have a feeling. But somebody will come in, they'll talk to me about their dating and all this kind of stuff. Then I'll kind of realize like they're kind of going on about one or two dates. And the thing that's happening to get them maybe onto two or three is that they're having sex. And then what happens is they're not dating anymore. So what I tell them is, you're actually not dating, you're just finding people to have sex with as much as you can.
And if you don't like that, go back to our previous episode about being honest with yourself, because that's what's happening, bro.
Because you're not trying to date. So dating implies like you're getting to know someone. That's in the forefront. Like you're trying to have a companion of some kind. And well, I got to try this out because I got to see if this is going to work, if we're really a good fit sexually, yeah, you can actually figure you're no way going to figure that out in the first few bit. The only way you're going to figure that out is after you know the person.
Yeah, that's not like the most important thing. And so first of all, maybe we're saying if that is the most important thing, you're like, hi, what's your name? Can we have sex? Like,
you're not dating.
Yes. And also your priorities are a little bit mistaken here, right? Because sex should not be the first thing that you are putting at the top of your list. Speaking of lists, do you even have a list of things that you know that are important to you, that are meaningful to you, like values, things that you live by, whether it's like being healthy or whether it's communication or honesty or, being in the outdoors or whatever. What are your religious values, all that kind of stuff? Do you have a list of the things that are meaningful and important to you that in a partner, if you're going to be dating somebody that you're going to be with, these are like non-negotiables, must-haves, right? And these aren't just the things that are in the apps, like they need to be this tall or ladies.
Yeah, I've heard all kinds of stuff about that.
That's true. It's a thing.
So much a thing.
Or like they need to make this much money. I mean, there might be some reality for you for that, for some of the lifestyle things that you want to have. Okay, that's fine. but what are the personality traits and qualities, the habits that this person has that you're looking for? Because those are going to be ultimately the things that you're looking for when you're on this actual date, not this sexcapade, right? The things that you're looking for in the other person, for like, how do these things show up in the other person's life? How does the other person value these things, and where do they fit in all of their day-to-day disciplines? Or are they not? Because if they don't show up in that person's life and they're non-negotiables for you, that person is probably not a good fit for you.
No, they're not. And here's another huge aspect. Go back, listen to the show that was previous to this, because have you been honest with yourself? Do you even know yourself? Do you know why you ended up in the relationship before that you did not want? Or why it is that you seem to find the same person no matter how awesome you are with your list?
Or even, why are you dating in the first place? Are you dating to meet people and get to know them and have a companion? Or are you dating so that you can have sex, for example?
Or are you dating to feel better? Some folks, it's as honestly skin deep as the idea. It has nothing to do with sex. It has to do with, I just don't want to be alone.
That's right. I don't want to be lonely.
And so a human is better than nothing.
Right.
And so then it doesn't matter who this person is, and you'll tolerate all kinds of stuff because likely you grew up in a way that you were alone a lot and you just wanted another person there. And so the parent or whatever, the neglect that you experienced, you're just used to the neglect. And so trying to understand who you are and how you're valued and have that acceptance is paramount for you to probably enter therapy.
And so don't get us wrong, there is a differentiation between if you are single and you are alone and you don't want to be alone, meaning you want to have a partner, but I don't want this person just to cure my loneliness, right? Because then you're giving that person a job and they're serving your needs. Like, that's not a healthy dynamic. But if you want to be in a relationship and you're not willing to tolerate certain things, and you're willing to set some of those boundaries and say, well, you're not a good fit for me. I don't want to just be with anyone over being alone. No, it's got to be the right person. If that's you and you're looking to be in a relationship because you don't want to be alone, that's perfectly fine. That's, I think, a really good, healthy, normal reason for dating.
And if the bar is so low that you just don't want to be alone, imagine that conversation, by the way. You go on a date. This other person's like, so how are you doing? I'm great.
I'm way better now. Why? Because I'm not alone. Because you're here.
Go ahead and talk. Just tell me things. Just say things out loud.
Because you're here. That's creepy. I kind of want to leave now.
Right. Where are you going? No. What? No.
Right.
Hold on to your leg. As you're leaving. That's, you're like walking out anyway.
These are the kinds of, it's a little bit cartoonish, but these are the kinds of things that do happen in the dating world, in the dating life for many people. If you're honest with yourself, that's probably a little bit of what's happening. That's why you get some of the reactions that you get from people when you're going on dates.
I was thinking of this meme. I told you about it before, actually it was probably on camera, but not on the podcast, where this vantage point is this lady. She's like looking, you can't see her, and the picture is of this guy holding a box of red flags, and she's like, yep, let's go out. It's just totally hilarious. But it's funny because there's an awareness, I think, in the dating world that we do this. I don't date anybody, but except for my wife, I guess. But we do, it happens as humans. We just look right past them and go, okay, let's go out. And then we don't know why we did that later. Why did we still doing that? And that circles back to the being honest with yourself component of just knowing what it is that you need. And it's really hard when you connect with someone and then you realize, that's not really going to be, my needs aren't really going to get met, but they're like a great person. But I don't want to lose a great person, but they're also not gonna care about this thing ever because they just won't. And it's important to me. And that's, I think, when probably the biggest mistakes start happening, because you'll hold on to it for way too long. It's easier, honestly, just rip the freaking Band-Aid off.
Yeah, and this is why I think so as we're talking about like how do you approach dating, I think you need to know what you're looking for, know who you are, what it is that you need from a person in a relationship, and you've got some sort of a game plan or an agenda going into these dates. Now, what asterisk here, right? You heard me say agenda, and it's like red flag. I just mean simply that you know that you're looking for certain traits and qualities, and you're trying to find those out with somebody, and you're not looking to like start a relationship with somebody you don't know because you don't know this person. I mean, hopefully, as you've just like logistically, you've matched with them, you've communicated a little bit online, maybe through messaging, or you've talked to each other, FaceTime, something like that. And now you're actually going to meet in person, face to face, which is significant, right? You got to meet a person in person to see if there is actual chemistry. But that chemistry is not everything, because you can get along with somebody really well, but they don't share your values. They don't have the qualities that you're looking for. So you've got to go into dating with the mindset of, I'm looking for these qualities, and I got to hold the line. If somebody doesn't have these non-negotiables, then I need to make sure that I'm willing to walk away, right? It's just like the car, buying a car, right? When you go to the dealership, if you've ever bought a car from there or from somebody else, they're going to try to make you deals and sell you things. And you got to be willing to say, nope, I'm not going to pay that, or no, I don't want all that stuff. And be willing to walk away, right, in order to get the thing that you want. Because if you're not willing to set those boundaries and walk away, you'll end up saying yes to things that you don't really want, and you'll know it. And I will say that for people that go into dating, like, listen to yourself. Probably right away, you know pretty quickly whether or not this person is going to be a right fit for you pretty quickly early on. Kind of reminds me of this book that I read a couple years ago that's called Thinking Fast and Slow. I think I've mentioned it before on the podcast, where we've got like these two systems of thinking. One is our fast system, which is like your intuition. It's gathering tons of information on the fly without you even knowing it. And then system 2 is your more conscious, slower system that's thinking about making a decision based off of system 1 information, right? So if you're going on a date and you have like sort of a gut reaction or an intuition about someone that's coming from probably system 1, right? It's gathering all this information without you knowing it, and it's probably right. Because when somebody's not a good fit for you, if there's something like a red flag or whatever.
So that's your red flagger. That is your referee throwing red flags.
And if you don't know what your red flags are also, like the things that you always say yes to or the things that you overlook, if you happen to be somebody who's a rescuer and you're like, oh, I saw this woman who was great and her life wasn't really together and she was in distress and she was great though. It's like, wait a minute. That's a rescuer dynamic, right? You like her because she needs you. Like, red flag right there.
It's perfect. She can accept me the way I am.
Right. And all the money you're going to give her to help her out of her situation. Like, you need to know your own red flags about yourself. This is what we mean about you need to know yourself, both what you're looking for and some of your negative patterns or qualities, so that you can manage those and look out for how those play themselves out in a dating dynamic.
It's just like the old poker song. You got to know when to hold them, know when to fold them, know when to walk away, and know when to run, baby. But I was thinking as you're talking, we could get more specific in this, because I'll hear clients talk about how they are beginning to have the conversation. So some text a little bit and then want to meet. And some people kind of would just rather meet than deal with everything. Some people want to talk on the phone. Some people don't want to talk on the phone. And then the other thing is like, as one guy told me, and I was like, this is not going to be good. I just want to put my best foot forward. Yeah, well, that's true. There's nothing wrong with that.
Yeah, make a good first impression, for sure.
But the other piece is like, you have to still be you. I mean, you're focusing so much on what the other person wants to see or what you think that they should see. And here's the other side of that coin. The other people who will, I'm just going to be honest, this is all the things I've learned about myself, and they just tell you like, sometimes I have tendencies for blah, 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 what, and also I've been known to like, okay, right. Aaron is running in the camera and running in place. So, but there are those two, there's an in-between zone, but how much would you say?
Yeah, that's a great question. So going in here, I personally like this. One of my buddies who's single told me this, that when he goes into dating, he says, I'm getting to know somebody. And framing it that way, I think, is really, really helpful, because you can think all kinds of things about dating, like it needs to be romantic, it needs to be intimate, whatever, or I'm just getting to know this person. And so if you're getting to know somebody, you're not just asking, how was your day? So first of all, don't ask, how was your day? But in that first meeting, you're probably gonna put on your best foot forward, your put on your best self, and that's okay. So be your best self in a certain sense, be presentable, because you want somebody to like you, and okay, you are what I thought you were. So also be honest about who you are in your profile, right? Take honest pictures and all that kind of stuff. And ask your friends, like, is this me? Make sure it accurately represents you. But on the dates, actually ask some questions to get to know the other person about who they are based off of your list. And you don't need to have your list there with like a pencil and a notepad.
I hope you don't.
No, please don't. But you want to be mindful.
Be the other person's red flag.
Exactly.
They will see you as a gigantic red flag.
Exactly. But ask questions to get to know them, and vice versa. Don't do all the talking, right? If you're the person who's spending the entire date doing all the talking, be mindful of, like, this is also the other person's, this is my opportunity to get to know you, and also your opportunity to get to know me. So there needs to be sort of an even split here of time, or some back and forth here. And in terms of sharing about yourself, you want to share, I think, on this initial meeting, or like the first couple of dates, which is why, again, if you're getting to know somebody, I would say it's going to take you probably 5, 6, 7 dates to really know somebody and decide, is this person somebody that I could see myself getting into a relationship with? I think it's really difficult to know that in a first meeting.
And the other piece of that pie is you want to give the opportunity of the person to know you, because you actually should want their feedback. You should want them to leave if they've realized that you are not a good fit, because it is a waste of your time.
Right.
So, like, you get into it, you're trying to sell yourself, because maybe on the surface, this is something that you're like, whoa, this person is way more attractive than I would have ever thought. This is going to be awesome. Problem, you're focused on the wrong thing, like right off the bat.
It's kind of like if you work at a business and you sell the wrong product to a customer. I used to work at Circuit City, like it's the Best Buy of nowadays. And it's like you're selling the wrong, computer or whatever technology product to the customer, and you're like, yeah, I made a great sale, but then like a couple days later they return it because that's not what they needed. Like, you don't want to be in that situation where somebody's returning you because you're like, yeah, that's not actually what I need.
Right. Well, and I think a good example of this, we don't need to take this as far, but if you have money, somebody just has a ridiculous amount of money. I mean, that's like the temptation is like, oh my gosh, they're solid, they know what they're doing. My life could be easier, that kind of thing, but I don't want to think like that. I'm not going to be like that. Well, just be you. If they're truly interested, actually, and there's a back and forth, then okay, they'll either decide not to, or you will, but you have to, because it's about the relationship, right? It's about companionship. Yet ultimately, you just don't want to be with the wrong person. The only way to do that is you have to be you, and you have to be honest.
And that's the scary part, because there are these moments, I think, when you are with another person and they ask a question or they say something, and you think to yourself, oh man, like, this is totally me, but this might come across poorly, or you might not like this about me, or whatever. And it's honest, and it doesn't necessarily have to be bad. Like, oh, well, what do you do for work? Well, I'm actually a bank robber. It doesn't have to be that. But it can just be something like, oh, I gained a lot of weight, and now I've lost it, and so, like, I'm really just still kind of like trying to figure that thing out in my life, and I don't know how you're going to feel about that, right? So I might say that, and I might be thinking, oh, you're going to judge me, you're not going to like that. But if that's really me and really where I'm at, then the person who is going to be a good companion for you would hopefully say, wow, that's awesome, good for you. I've been through something like that before, and I just commend you for being honest with yourself about it, and me, and working hard on it, because I know it takes a long time, or whatever. It's like, oh, this thing about me that I shared, that's actually me, the right person will actually value.
Right. I'm thinking of one example could be that seems in the getting to know you phase would be reasonable from a superficial standpoint is for whatever reason a topic comes up and you realize like I do not agree with that. Like I just don't agree. And there's no pathway. I've thought through that for myself. There's no pathway to me ever like wanting to be around that. I don't even want to have this conversation. But you like them. You're like, this is clicking, this is maybe third or fourth day. This is great. You don't want to say like, yeah, that's not me. I'm never going to do that. I'm never going to care about that. Maybe they really like to hike and camp every weekend. You've seen those pictures and you thought like, oh, it's the spring. They want to do this then. And there's the rest of the time they don't. Nope. They actually camp and hike all the time. And that's not you. And you realize like, whoa, you really do this all the time. You're going to have to just say like, I'm not interested in hiking and camping as much as you are. I'm just not ever going to be.
Right, and that's where being honest with yourself and the other person, like our previous episode talks about, like have those hard conversations and be honest about that, because it's better to rule that stuff out early on, almost like check off the boxes like nope, and then decide, well, this isn't a good fit. I like you and I liked meeting you or knowing you, but it just is not a good fit. That's perfectly okay.
It is perfectly okay for it not to be a good fit. I'm not sure if there's anything else to mention, Aaron.
Yeah, I think we may need to do a follow-up on like kind of maybe some of the later on stages of dating, but I think a lot of people like this sort of first, like it's kind of like once you get over the hump here, of like getting on apps and putting yourself out there, if that's the route you're going, which by the way, everybody hates it. Everybody hates the dating apps, just so you know. I don't think I've met anybody in my office that has said like, oh, I love it, I can't wait to get back on.
Right. No, they do not like it. I've never met anybody like that either.
So keep in mind that we are nacho therapists, that this is just, educational purposes. This is not therapeutic advice. This is not therapy or legal advice. This is our little legal disclaimer. So take it for what it is. We hope it has been helpful.
Abruptly yours. Have a good day.